All right, what's up, everybody? I hope you're doing okay. How are you? Today is December the 1st, 2021, and I hope I post this video sooner rather than later. But I hope you've been doing all right. Today I've got a different video for you. I'm not traveling, but today I'm talking about gadgets and devices. Okay? Being a YouTuber involves recording video and editing video and uploading video. So part of that is the gadgets that you use to record. And so today I want to talk about that. I want to share with you some of my gadgets and some of the things I enjoy with tech. I'm the Khumba guy, ladies and gentlemen, Zambia's favorite travel vlogger. Today we're talking tech. Let's go. All right, to start with, I want to talk about the things I use to record my videos. I started recording in 2018. I opened my channel in January 2019. But before I go there, I want to take us back a little bit to my history with phones, because that's one of the most common devices used in recording. If you're a YouTuber, do you use phones or do you use a camera, a full-on digital camera? Comment there and tell me what did you start with if you've moved on to something else. So most of us use phones. So before I talk about phones and what I've used for my vlogging, I want to talk about my history with phones. Okay, so I had a small Siemens back when I was in grade 12, back in the days, those funny 1, 2, 3 phones, as I call them. But my real forte into phones, and everybody knows, those who know me know that I loved my BlackBerry. Okay, when BlackBerry came out, it was very big. There was a lot of hullabaloo about it. BlackBerry, the Bold and the Curve came out first. At that time, it was 1,500 for the Curve and 3,000 for the Bold. I don't know if it was 3 million then, I don't know. I never had that money. But eventually I got my hands on one, an older model. My dad bought one online. So I had that. And it was very nice. I enjoyed my time with BlackBerry. And it was a very long-running relationship between me and BlackBerry. I still have a relic. This is a Bold. I think this is a Bold 9800. Did anybody use a Bold 9800? My favorite all-time BlackBerry was not the 9900. The 9900 Bold was the biggest Big Daddy. But mine was the 9850, the one which was just before. It was a perfect size, perfect phone. I love that phone. I used the Curve 9360. I had the 8520, I think, the basic one. I had quite a few. I used the Torch. I used quite a number of Blackberries. But yeah, I really did love BlackBerry. It was a very good device for what it was worth. Apart from just the BIS, or is it the BES, enterprise, where you have the free internet, BlackBerry was a very, very good device. Most people, let me not judge, but a lot of people had it just for the name. Oh, I've got a BlackBerry. But they didn't use half the functions. They never used the email, and they never used push notifications and things like that. But BlackBerry was a good device, and I used that for a long time. I moved in 20 what? Around about 2014, 15, I got a touch screen. I had a few full touch screens. Android came on the scene at that point. I'm jumping here. But yeah. Now recently, KBHD talked about he did 2 videos. One he did was all the Android and Apple phones from the iPhone 1 or iPhone all through to the current iPhone 13 or whatever it is. Then he did a second video talking about all the Google phones. For those that know, Google started a line of phones. Google is a software company. We all know that. But they started a line of phones called Nexus. And then eventually they phased that out and moved on to the Pixel. My history with the Nexus. So at some point I bought a Nexus 4 to be precise. I used the Nexus 4. That phone was my baby. I had a very good time with that phone. It was a very basic phone, really. I bought it rooted, so it had a custom ROM. For those who know custom ROMs, it had cyanogen mode, so it was always on the cutting edge. Now, the Nexus was, bare bones stock Android, but mine was rooted, so I could get Android releases as soon as they came. So while Android 4 was out, many people on KitKat, I was already on 5. I was already on, 6 with the custom ROM with cyanogen mod. So that was nice. I had a very good time with my Nexus 4. By some chance, I have a Nexus 4 today. This is a Nexus 4. One thing it had was this nice pattern on the back. All right, this was Google phone, the Nexus. So Google is not an OEM, so it had partnered with a lot of other companies to produce their phones. So this one was done by LG. The Nexus 3 was a Samsung phone. The Nexus 1 was an HTC, was done by HTC, but it's a Google phone, but they had companies make them. Nexus 5 was an LG as well. The Nexus 6 was a Motorola. Oh, how I wanted that Motorola Nexus 6. It was a big phone. It was a 6-inch. In that time, it had the ring flash. It had 64. The bigger one had 32 GB. 16 and 32. Or did it have 32 and 64? At that time, that was, that was top of the range. That was a good phone. I never did buy the Motorola Nexus 6, but I really did want it. Particularly the blue one. It was blue and white. You could choose. But I never got the Nexus 6. So that was my... in fact, I had about 2 of these. I sold one and had to buy it again. Or 3, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a very good time I had with the Nexus. Then Google discontinued Nexus. They did the Huawei Nexus 6P and so on, and 5X. And then they discontinued and they moved to Pixel. Now the Google Pixel phones came out and they're very good phones. Recently, the Pixel 6 came out with a lot of hype. That's the latest Google phone. And it goes a step further. So with the Pixel, Google were making their own phones. It wasn't with LG, it wasn't with Samsung or anything. Google were making their own phones. So all the Google Pixels are dedicated Google phones. And Pixel came out with very good cameras. So yeah, from the Pixel 1, currently we're on the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. Gosh, I'd love that phone. It's using its own Tensor chip. Google's not the Snapdragon, which is mainstream, but it's using Google made their own chip as well. And they're really working hard to improve their camera, especially, and to just integrate the whole software, because they have and so on. So the Pixel 6 is out, and it's a good phone. One day I'll probably get it, but eventually, hopefully. So that was where Google came from the Nexus on through to the Pixel. Now the Pixel was very interesting. One of the phones I'm currently using is a Pixel, a Google Pixel. I have a Google Pixel 3 XL. Okay, this is my Google Pixel. Yeah, but it only has one. They maintained one camera for quite a while until they went to the Pixel 4 and so on. But this is my Google Pixel. It's a very, very good. The Google Pixel is a very good phone. And the Pixel 3 is running the current Android 12. with the famous Android 12 clock. One nice thing about the Pixel was the design. Okay, so they went out and what they did was they had, this was finished in a double, so you can see matte here and shiny top. Okay, so the first Pixel was divided there, and then it had the shiny bit on top. It was dual whatever. When everybody was doing glass back, metal sides, and so on, Google decided to do a two-tone, whatever, and it was very interesting. It was a very nice feature. But one thing I liked was this: the power button had a very nice accented color. So that was very, very interesting by Google to do that. And they did that for a number of their phones. The black phone was just black. Google Pixel was just black. So let me show you. The black phone was just black. These are all Google Pixels. That one is black. This one is white and it had the green button. So I liked that. Okay. So Google did so this is pink, but they called it not pink, and it had the orange button. So that's cool. Okay. I'm very resourceful. I have a lot of these things to show. So, but this is my phone. All right. So, so yeah, that's been my history with phones. Okay, up to where I went. So, at some point, I got the G5, the LG G5. About 4 or 5 years, 2018. So I was using the LG G5 side by side with the BlackBerry. I never wanted to get rid of BlackBerry, so I bought a Z30, the touchscreen, full touchscreen BlackBerry. So I had that. That brings me to the time when I wanted to start vlogging. Now we're into YouTube. Before we go into that, not only did Google make very nice Pixel with that funny button, they made the Pixel 2, was it the 2 XL, duotone even in color, what came to be known as the Panda phone, because it was black and white. That phone was cool. I really wanted that phone, but I never could get a 128 GB and so on. But yeah, eventually my sister managed to get a Google phone, and she uses a Pixel phone, a Panda phone. This, ladies and gentlemen, was the Google Pixel, is the Google Pixel 2 XL. It's a Panda phone, and it had this black and white. So this is also matte, and that's shiny, but not only that, it's black and that's white. So it was the Panda phone. That was your Google Pixel. So the Pixel is a good phone. I like Pixel. Apart from the fact it came without a headphone jack. It comes without a headphone jack and without expandable storage, no memory card, but you get Google Photo storage. So yeah, it's about the Google Pixel. So I want to talk about what I used as I started my vlogging. So in 2018, I managed to get, and I don't have that one, I got a Samsung S4 Zoom. So when Samsung were making their S1, S2, S3, at some point they started making iterations of them. So the S4, there was the S4 Mini, the S4 Active, the standard S4, and there was an S4 Zoom. The S4 Zoom was a normal camera with a lens on the back. I'll show you a picture. It actually had a physical lens, so it was good for video recording. So once I got that phone, it was very nice for my first video on Euro Africa, my video when I went to Livingstone with Shalom, when I was swimming at the falls and things like that. All those videos I did on my S4 Zoom. For over a year, I used that phone as the Khumba guy phone, and I had a really good time with that phone. It was very nice. It had a 10x optical zoom, so you could go far and wide and so on. But this is where my G5 came in. LG G5 had dual cameras at the back. One was a standard lens, the other was a wide angle. Okay, so that was very good for me because I wanted the wide angle for tight corners. I do travel, so when you're in a bus or in a train, I think you want a wider view because you're in a smaller area You can't go back and get all that. You're in a smaller area, so if the camera has that, you can be here, but you cover much more. So the LG did very well when they started. LG were one of the first to start with multiple cameras. Then companies started with 2 cameras at the back, 3 cameras at the back, 4 cameras at the back, and things like that. But LG were one of the first, and that's why I loved LG, and that's why I bought the G5. So at some point I bought the G5 and I was using the G5 for that. So that was my camera. That was my phone. That was the camera I used later on. Firstly, I started with the zoom, and then I moved on to the G5, which I had side by side. So I had the zoom had the zoom lens, the physical zoom lens, and then the G5 had the wide angle, so I could get something from afar and I could get that. I never often used the G5, but sometimes I did. Now LG went on and made the V series, which had a high quality audio DAC, and they had very good video recording properties or video recording software, all the way up to having manual controls on your video, on your photos and on your videos on the camera app. So they really did well. So I really wanted a V series. The V10 was a very good phone with the textured back. The V20 as well, very rugged. But I never had money that time. It's all these things you dream of and you Google and you look up and you read. Eventually, though, I was able to have the V35. I moved on to the V30. So if you saw the V30, there was a video where they compared it with the Red camera. The V30 was there, and so on. So yeah, that was an advantage. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a V35. So it has the dual camera here. One is wide angle, the other one is the standard, and it was very good. It's a very good phone. Let me just show you. So for camera, why is it not showing? So for camera, anyway, this is manual video. I don't know if you can see that, but it had a lot of manual controls, ISO, and things like that. So it's a very good phone, and I was happy I could buy one. I buy secondhand, so I ordered them. So that's about my gadgets and what I use to record. I've never used a full-on camera to record. It's just been phones. So if you're a new YouTuber, do not be afraid to use your camera, your phone. Use what you have. Do what you can with what you have. Even editing, a lot of the first few videos I did, I edited them on my phone. Okay, so I got Filmora, I tried out this and that, I tried out an app here and there. That's all you do, so be encouraged to use the simple devices that you have. When I was using my Nexus, I really had a good time playing with. So a friend of mine at university had an HTC M7. HTC M7 came with ultra pixels, and I had my Nexus. So we really did very good creative things. I'll share 1 or 2 pictures here. I really had creative. It's a simple basic phone, but it's about the creativity. So if you're a beginner, it's more about your creativity, how you engage, and what you do with the devices that you have. Currently, I've got access to a work device, but it's very hard to record in my niche, doing travel, being in the public place with cameras. People are very apprehensive to being recorded. So moving around with a big device like this, okay, it's very good. This is a proper DSLR with full frame and so on, and you want to do that. Now it's not the high tech, it doesn't have a flip out thing and so on, but it's very good, okay. But it's difficult. First of all, it's heavy and bulky when moving around, traveling in a bus or traveling on a train, and so on. It's good for photography and things like that, but for vlogging, it's very heavy and it's not so easy as compared to using just a simple phone you put in your pocket and just, hi, what's up, I'm the Khumba guy. So yeah, But it's good to have, and hopefully we can do some videos with that and improve the quality. Um, Basically, that's a roundup. I've rambled on for 20 minutes, but I hope you found this interesting. Just looking at different gadgets and things that I've used these over time, and I'm a guy. Most of us are interested in gadgets and so on. So this has been part of what I've been doing as a vlogger, um, and so on. I managed to find these to my microphones. So these are good for audio. One thing you always must have in a good video is good audio, and then good picture quality. So that's been me. I managed to get a gimbal. I have a gimbal thanks to a subscriber. They know themselves. So I have a gimbal. It helps with stabilization when you're moving in a bumpy place, bumpy bus, or those of us who are up and about. I rarely do sit down videos like this, so a gimbal is good for stabilization. I did a video previously about that, so that's not. Next in my list of gadgets is a GoPro. Okay, I want a GoPro, and this is a good time for me to say thank you to my Patreons. I opened a Patreon, which is just a platform where viewers support content creators. So I did that to see if I can raise money. Travel and tourism is a very expensive niche, and vlogging in general is very expensive. But so it's been nice. I've been able to have a few people throw in a few bucks here and there. I want to say thank you very much to you. I haven't used any of that money. I did get some last year, but the whole of the money this year from my Patreons has been a little bit. They're not too many. The maximum I've ever had are 3 Patreons, but I've got a few faithful ones. Thank you very much. Big ups to you, Patreons. So I've let that accumulate together with the little money, since I'm monetized with the money I've made. So next on my budget is to get a GoPro. A GoPro will be good for wet environments. When I go to the falls, when I go to Lake Bangweolu, I want to go into the water with the camera. So that's where the GoPro comes in, and things like that. And it also has the suction cup which you can put on the windshield of a bus or whatever. So I want to try all that, improve on my footage and whatever. So I'm hoping I'll raise enough money for a GoPro. That will be my present for the next year, 2022. Hopefully by then I'll be able to have, and we'll see some interesting footage. Eventually, possibly get a drone. That also adds to footage. There's a lot of creativity, but yeah, this video is just about devices and gadgets, and this is me sharing about what devices do you use. What devices would you recommend? What do you think I must have? I've never had a ring light. People like to have the ring light and so on. Right now there's just a bulb up here, and it works fairly well. I don't have a ring light because most of my videos aren't sit-down videos. I'm outside, out and about, in natural light, in the sunshine, in a bus, in a train, at a tourist destination or something like that. So it's never been a very necessary thing for me. So what do you use for your videos? What would you like to use? What would you recommend? And what do you think the Khumba guys should get? I haven't made a lot of videos this year. I've been rather busy. That's not a good excuse, but I'm hoping to upload some. We're coming up. Yeah, it's one thing to have gadgets, but it's another thing to be creative. It's another thing to be consistent. It's another thing to push out content, have ideas. So all those pieces of the puzzle have to come together. You can have a stack full of professional equipment, but if you don't have the creativity, you won't make good videos. You may have the creativity, but if you don't have the time or the dedication, the discipline rather, to edit those videos and upload them, all that comes into play. So I'm the Khumba guy today, talking about gadgets and devices. I hope you've learned something, or I hope you've enjoyed this video, and let's go out and record. And thanks for being here. Please comment, share, like. I haven't said those words in a long time. Yeah. All right. I'm the Khumba guy. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video. Let's go. How does that?